Ferrari's top-secret revolutionary engine for 2026 has been leaked. Adrien Newey reveals progress on Aston's new car, and more team order drama. Let's get into the latest F1 news. What if I told you Ferrari is developing something so groundbreaking for 2026 that they're keeping it locked away under complete secrecy? Something that could completely flip Formula One on its head when the biggest rule changes in decades hit the sport. Well, buckle up, because the latest intelligence coming out of Maranello is absolutely mind-blowing. The prancing horse is reportedly working on what insiders are calling a revolutionary engine component that could be their secret weapon for the new era. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just any ordinary development. We're talking about a completely reimagined approach to engine design that has Ferrari engineers burning the midnight oil behind closed doors. Now, before we dive into the juicy details, let me paint you the picture of what's at stake here. The 2026 season isn't just another year in Formula One, it's a complete transformation. We're looking at 50% electrification, fully sustainable fuels, and active aerodynamics. This is the most significant technical overhaul the sport has seen, and whoever gets it right could dominate for years to come. Remember what happened in 2014 when the last major engine regulations changed? Mercedes absolutely crushed everyone, winning 8 straight Constructors' Championships and 7 Drivers' titles. They came prepared, while others scrambled. The question now is, could Ferrari be positioning themselves to flip that script? Here's what we know so far. According to exclusive reports from Italian motorsport sources, Ferrari is developing an aluminum alloy cylinder head featuring what they describe as a top-secret intake system. But here's the plot twist. This wasn't their original plan. They initially pursued what was described as a highly innovative steel cylinder head solution, but reliability concerns forced them to abandon that approach entirely. The man behind the original concept was Wolf Zimmermann, Ferrari's outgoing head of internal combustion engines and research development. His steel design was apparently so cutting-edge that it raised serious questions about whether it could actually survive the brutal demands of Formula One racing. When reliability became a major concern, Ferrari made the tough decision to scrap months of development work. But this setback might actually tell us something fascinating about Ferrari's ambition level. They're not playing it safe. They're pushing boundaries so aggressively that even their backup plan is being called revolutionary. That aluminum alloy cylinder head with its mysterious intake system represents their pivot to something more reliable, yet still groundbreaking. The timing of this development drama adds another layer of intrigue. Zimmermann is expected to leave Ferrari once his work on the 2026 engine is complete, with Audi likely becoming his next destination. His deputy, Lars Schmidt, is also reportedly following him to the German manufacturer. This means Ferrari is losing significant technical expertise right when they need it most. Taking over Ferrari's engine department will be Enrico Gualtieri, currently serving as Power Unit Technical Director. The question becomes whether this leadership transition will help or hinder Ferrari's progress as they race against the clock to finalize their 2026 package. Speaking of racing against time, here's where things get concerning for Ferrari fans. The switch from steel to aluminum cylinder head designs has reportedly left Ferrari playing catch-up compared to their rivals. Mercedes is widely believed to be the most advanced in their 2026 preparations, while Honda is also making strong progress. This creates a fascinating dynamic because Mercedes dominated the last major rule change, and early intelligence suggests they might be best positioned to do it again. But Ferrari's secretive approach and willingness to take technical risks could be exactly what's needed to close that gap. The broader engine manufacturer landscape for 2026 adds even more intrigue. We'll have 5 different power unit suppliers: Ferrari, Mercedes, Honda returning officially with Aston Martin, plus newcomers Audi and Red Bull powertrains partnered with Ford. That's the most diverse engine supply grid Formula One has seen in years. Recent reports suggest that most manufacturers, except Mercedes, have encountered serious development challenges. 2 are apparently far behind the leaders, while another is struggling with an uncompetitive design after choosing a different biofuel approach compared to rivals who selected synthetic fuel. This puts Ferrari's secretive aluminum alloy development into perspective. They might be playing catch-up overall. but their willingness to completely restart their cylinder head design suggests they're not settling for mediocrity. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from being forced back to the drawing board. For Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, this engine development could be crucial. Hamilton has struggled in his first Ferrari season, failing to reach the podium in his opening 19 races with the team. Both drivers need Ferrari to nail the 2026 regulations if they want to fight for championships again. The stakes couldn't be higher. Ferrari's mysterious intake system and aluminum alloy cylinder head represent their shot at redemption after years of championship disappointment. Whether this top-secret technology will deliver the performance they need remains the biggest question mark heading into Formula One's new era. Only time will tell if Ferrari's revolutionary approach pays off when those 2026 cars hit the track. What if I told you that one man could single-handedly transform an entire Formula One team's future? Well, that's exactly what's happening at Aston Martin right now, and the details are absolutely mind-blowing. Adrien Newey just made the biggest move in modern Formula One history, leaving his legendary position at Red Bull to join Aston Martin as their managing technical partner. But here's the kicker that nobody saw coming. He's not just filling one role, he's essentially doing the job of 3 different people simultaneously. And it's revolutionizing how we think about Formula One engineering. Picture this. You walk into a meeting room expecting to discuss aerodynamics with your new colleague, but instead, you find yourself talking to what feels like an entire technical department wrapped up in one brilliant mind. That's exactly what Enrico Cardile, Aston Martin's chief technology officer, discovered when he started working alongside Newey on their game-changing 2026 car. Cardile, who made his own high-profile switch from Ferrari specifically to work with this engineering legend, reveals something that will blow your mind. When he sits down with Newey, it's like having 3 separate conversations at once with a chief designer, a vehicle dynamics expert, and an aerodynamic head all rolled into one person. This isn't just impressive, it's practically supernatural in today's hyper-specialized Formula One world. But wait, it gets even more incredible. Newey doesn't just understand these 3 disciplines. He operates at the absolute pinnacle of each one. Cardile describes watching Newey work as witnessing someone who refuses to compromise anywhere, pushing every single element toward absolute perfection regardless of cost or complexity. This relentless pursuit of excellence has defined Newey's entire career and explains why his designs have statistically outperformed everyone else in Formula One history. Here's where the story becomes truly fascinating. While modern Formula One teams employ hundreds of specialists working in separate departments, Newey developed his skills during an era when teams were tiny operations with just a handful of people. This forced him to master multiple disciplines simultaneously, creating a unique skill set that simply doesn't exist among today's engineers. Think about the implications here. Most current Formula One engineers specialize in one specific area because the sport has become so technologically complex. But Newey built his expertise when technology was more limited, meaning he had to personally understand every aspect of car development. As technology advanced, he evolved with it, maintaining his comprehensive knowledge while everyone else became increasingly specialized. This creates an almost unfair advantage. When Newey envisions a design solution, he doesn't just understand the aerodynamic implications. He simultaneously grasps how it affects vehicle dynamics, structural integrity, and manufacturing feasibility. He can spot problems and opportunities that escape even teams of specialists working together. Cardile reveals another crucial insight about Newey's approach that sets him apart from everyone else in the sport. When Newey identifies what needs to be achieved, he already has a complete mental roadmap for making it happen. If someone in the organization struggles to implement his vision, he can dive deep into the technical details and provide exactly the guidance needed to make it feasible. This ability to operate seamlessly between high-level strategic thinking and microscopic technical details represents a rare combination of brilliant engineering, intellect, and decades of hands-on experience. It's like having a master chef who can simultaneously plan an entire menu, source the finest ingredients, and execute every dish to perfection. The timing couldn't be more perfect for Aston Martin. The 2026 season brings sweeping regulation changes that will essentially reset the competitive order in Formula One. Every team is starting fresh with completely new technical requirements, making Newey's comprehensive expertise even more valuable. While other teams coordinate between multiple departments to understand these new regulations, Newey can process all the implications instantly. Cardile confirms that Newey is absolutely the driving force behind Aston Martin's 2026 development program. This isn't just about hiring a consultant or advisor. They've secured someone who functions as an entire technical department condensed into one extraordinary individual. The psychological impact on the team cannot be understated either. Knowing you have arguably the greatest car designer in Formula One history, leading your technical program creates a confidence that permeates through every level of the organization. Engineers work harder, mechanics pay more attention to details, and drivers push limits because everyone believes they're part of something special. What makes this story even more compelling is how Newey's uncompromising approach to perfection aligns perfectly with Aston Martin's ambitious goals. The team isn't just trying to improve their position. They're attempting to transform from midfield runners into genuine championship contenders, and Newey's triple threat expertise might be exactly what they need to achieve that seemingly impossible goal. The Formula One paddock is watching this partnership with intense fascination because it represents something we've never seen before. A technical genius with comprehensive expertise joining forces with a team hungry for success. At precisely the moment when regulation changes level the playing field. This isn't just another driver transfer or team personnel change. This is potentially the beginning of a new era in Formula One, where Aston Martin emerges as a dominant force, powered by one man's extraordinary ability to be three experts simultaneously. What happens when Formula One teams are forced to shuffle their lineups mid-season? Today, we're diving into a fascinating development that perfectly illustrates how the sport's rigid regulations create unexpected opportunities for rising talent. Racing Bulls just announced that Liam Lawson will be stepping aside for the first practice session at this weekend's Mexican Grand Prix. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't about performance or punishment. This is about Formula One's mandatory rookie driver requirements, and it's creating ripple effects across the entire grid. So who's taking Lawson's place? Enter Ayumu Iwasa, a 24-year-old Japanese driver who's been quietly making waves in the Super Formula Championship. Currently sitting third in those standings with the season finale approaching at Suzuka, Iwasa represents that fascinating bridge between junior categories and Formula One that defines modern motorsport's talent pipeline. But let's step back and understand what's really happening here. Formula One has specific rules requiring teams to give rookie drivers, defined as those who've started no more than 2 Grand Prix races, at least 2 practice sessions per car each season. It's designed to nurture new talent and ensure the sport's future remains bright. Now here's what makes this situation particularly intriguing. Lawson's teammate Isak Hadjar already fulfilled this requirement earlier in his debut season. So Racing Bulls needed to find another opportunity to meet their obligations, and the Mexican Grand Prix became that moment. This regulatory requirement is creating some fascinating scenarios across the paddock. With Lawson sitting out, 9 of the 10 teams will be fielding rookie drivers in first practice. Only Sauber is keeping both their race drivers in the cars for the opening session. Think about that for a moment. Nearly the entire grid is being reshuffled because of a single regulation. For Iwasa, this represents his second Formula One practice session of the year. Back in April, he drove for the senior Red Bull racing team during first practice at the Bahrain Grand Prix, stepping in for none other than Max Verstappen, the 4-time world champion. He finished 19th out of 20 runners that day, but the experience was invaluable. This isn't Iwasa's first rodeo with Racing Bulls either. Last year, he participated in practice sessions at both Suzuka and Abu Dhabi, giving him crucial familiarity with the team's procedures and the car's characteristics. That continuity matters enormously in a sport where every tenth of a second counts. The Honda connection adds another layer to this story. Iwasa's association with Honda aligns perfectly with Racing Bull's engine partnership, creating natural synergies that extend beyond just fulfilling regulatory requirements. It's the kind of strategic thinking that defines successful Formula One operations. But here's where the calendar creates additional complexity. Lawson still needs to sit out one more practice session before the season ends, and the options are becoming limited. The upcoming Brazilian and Qatar rounds are sprint events, meaning teams get only 1 hour of practice running instead of the usual multiple sessions. No team wants to sacrifice that precious track time for rookie obligations. Las Vegas presents another challenge. Street circuits are notoriously unforgiving, with concrete barriers waiting to punish the smallest mistakes. It's hardly the ideal environment for giving inexperienced drivers their Formula One debuts. That leaves Abu Dhabi as the most logical choice for Lawson's second mandatory absence. The season finale often serves this purpose across multiple teams, as the championship battles are typically decided by then, and teams can afford to prioritize development over pure performance. What makes this situation particularly fascinating is how it highlights the delicate balance Formula One strikes between sporting competition and talent development. These mandatory rookie sessions aren't just box-ticking exercises, they're genuine opportunities for the sport's future stars to gain invaluable experience. For Lawson himself, these enforced breaks might actually prove beneficial. The pressure of performing every weekend can be immense, especially for drivers still establishing themselves in Formula One. Getting to observe from the sidelines while a teammate takes the wheel can provide fresh perspectives on car setup and track conditions. The timing also speaks to Racing Bull's strategic thinking. Mexico City's high altitude creates unique challenges for both engines and aerodynamics. Having Iwasa tackle these conditions gives the team additional data points while fulfilling their regulatory obligations. It's efficiency at its finest. Looking at the broader picture, these rookie requirements represent Formula One's commitment to its future. In a sport where experience typically trumps everything else, creating guaranteed opportunities for new talent ensures the championship remains vibrant and competitive for generations to come. As we head into the Mexican Grand Prix weekend, watch how Iwasa handles this opportunity. His performance won't just be about lap times, it'll be about demonstrating the composure and adaptability that separates future Formula One drivers from talented racers in other categories. This perfectly encapsulates modern Formula One, MOS, where regulations, strategy, and opportunity intersect to create moments that can define careers and shape the sport's trajectory for years to come. Picture this. You're watching Formula One coverage, and suddenly your favorite world champion starts making faces at the camera while his co-host is speaking. That's exactly what happened during Sky Sports coverage of the United States Grand Prix, and the internet absolutely lost its mind over it. We're diving deep into the viral moment that has everyone talking about Danica Patrick and Jenson Button's on-air chemistry, or should I say, lack thereof. So here's what went down at the Circuit of the Americas. Carlos Sainz had just crashed out of the race after a collision with Andrea Kimi Antonelli on lap 6. It was one of those racing incidents that splits opinions, with Sainz ultimately getting penalized for his role in the crash. But the real drama wasn't happening on track. It was unfolding in the Sky Sports commentary booth. Danica Patrick, the former IndyCar and NASCAR star turned Formula One pundit, was giving her analysis of the incident. She made what seemed like a perfectly reasonable observation about Sainz choosing the wrong spot to attempt an overtake. Her exact words were something along the lines of how, when you make a move in an unusual place, you get an unusual result. Fair point, right? But here's where it gets interesting. As Patrick was wrapping up her analysis, the cameras caught Jenson Button, the 2009 Formula One world champion, and her fellow Sky Sports colleague, making this absolutely priceless face. We're talking about a thin grin, an awkward glance directly at the camera, the kind of expression that screams internal dialogue. It was the facial equivalent of that Jim Halpert look from The Office, and viewers picked up on it immediately. Now, what makes this moment so fascinating isn't just the awkwardness itself, but what it represents about sports broadcasting dynamics. Here you have two accomplished drivers from different racing backgrounds trying to work together as pundits. Button brings his Formula One World Championship, credentials, and deep understanding of the sport's nuances. Patrick brings her trailblazing experience as one of the most successful female drivers in American motorsport history. The viral clip started making rounds on social media platforms almost instantly. Fans began dissecting every frame, analyzing Button's expression, debating whether Patrick's commentary warranted such a reaction. Some viewers found it hilarious, others felt it was unprofessional, and many were just fascinated by the raw human moment caught on camera. What's particularly intriguing is that this wasn't an isolated incident. Sharp-eyed Formula One fans pointed out that Button had made similar expressions during Patrick's commentary before, specifically during Sky's coverage of the inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix back in 2023. This suggests there might be an ongoing dynamic between these two broadcast partners that goes beyond just this one moment. The timing of Patrick's comments adds another layer to the story. She was drawing a parallel between Sainz's crash and the multi-car collision that happened during the sprint race's opening corner. Her analysis focused on how unusual overtaking attempts often lead to unusual and typically negative results. From a racing perspective, her point was actually quite insightful, making Button's reaction even more puzzling to viewers. This incident highlights the challenges of live sports broadcasting. When you're on air for hours, covering intense racing action, maintaining perfect professional composure becomes incredibly difficult. Microphones are always hot, cameras are always rolling, and every facial expression gets scrutinized by thousands of viewers. Button's moment of apparent exasperation or disagreement became public property the instant it happened. The broader conversation this sparked touches on gender dynamics in motorsport commentary. Patrick has been breaking barriers throughout her career, from becoming the most successful woman in IndyCar and NASCAR history to transitioning into Formula One broadcasting. Every comment she makes gets examined under a microscope, and moments like this can overshadow her actual expertise and insights about racing. For Button, this viral moment presents its own challenges. As a respected former world champion, his credibility in the commentary booth is generally unquestioned. But when your facial expressions become memes, it can shift focus away from your actual analysis and toward your perceived reactions to colleagues. The incident also demonstrates how social media has transformed sports broadcasting. What might have once been a fleeting moment, noticed by a few attentive viewers, now becomes content that reaches millions worldwide. A single awkward glance can generate more discussion than the actual race analysis it interrupted. Looking at the bigger picture, this moment reflects the evolving nature of Formula One coverage. Sky Sports has been working to diversify their punditry team, bringing in voices from different racing backgrounds and perspectives. Sometimes these combinations create magic, and sometimes they create viral awkwardness. The aftermath of this incident will be interesting to watch. Will Button and Patrick address the moment publicly? Will Sky Sports adjust their on-air dynamics? Or will this just become another footnote in the ongoing evolution of Formula One broadcasting? One thing's certain. In an age where every moment is potentially viral content, sports broadcasters are learning that the cameras capture everything, including the moments they'd probably rather keep private. What do you think about this awkward broadcasting moment? Was Button's reaction justified, or should co-hosts maintain better poker faces? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more Formula One drama and analysis. Picture this. You're fighting for your Formula One future. Your teammate is holding you back, and suddenly team orders become the barrier between survival and career death. Welcome to the Franco Colapinto controversy that has everyone talking. What happened in Aston wasn't just another racing incident. It was a career-defining moment, disguised as a battle for 17th place. Franco Colapinto, the young Argentine driver whose Formula One seat hangs by a thread, made a split-second decision that could determine his entire future in the sport. During the United States Grand Prix, Alpine issued team orders for Colapinto to hold position behind Pierre Gasly. But here's where it gets interesting. Colapinto had significantly better pace. Gabriel Bortoleto was breathing down his neck, and staying behind Gasly meant potentially losing positions to faster cars behind. So he defied the order and overtook his teammate. The immediate aftermath was explosive. Alpine's managing director Steve Nielsen didn't mince words, calling the defiance disappointing and promising internal consequences. But Colapinto stood his ground initially, explaining his reasoning with the confidence of someone who believed he'd made the tactically correct choice. Here's what makes this situation absolutely fascinating from a psychological perspective. Colapinto wasn't just racing for points or pride. He was racing for survival. As the only current driver without a single point this season, every opportunity to showcase his abilities carries enormous weight. When you're fighting for your career, team orders for 17th place can feel like career suicide. The data actually supports Colapinto's capabilities. Against experienced teammate Gasly, he trails only 8-5 in qualifying battles and 7-6 in race performance. These numbers suggest he can compete at the highest level, making his pointless season more about Alpine's struggles than individual performance. But then came the season. Backtrack. Within days, Colapinto issued a complete reversal, stating that team instructions must always be followed regardless of circumstances. This wasn't just damage control, it was strategic career management. With reserve driver Paul Aron waiting in the wings and set to replace Gasly in Mexico's first practice session, Colapinto couldn't afford to appear as a problem child. This creates a compelling psychological dilemma. Should ambitious drivers sacrifice potential showcase moments for team harmony? The traditional Formula One answer has always been clear. Follow orders, respect hierarchy, prove yourself gradually. But modern Formula One operates differently, especially for drivers without guaranteed futures. Consider the broader context of Colapinto's situation. He joined Alpine mid-season after a challenging start, inheriting a difficult car in a struggling team environment. Every race weekend becomes an audition, every overtake a potential career saver. When you're operating under such pressure, rational decision-making becomes incredibly challenging. The timing of this incident couldn't be more crucial. With 6 races remaining and contract negotiations heating up across the paddock, drivers in uncertain positions face impossible choices. Play it safe and risk being forgotten, or take calculated risks and potentially damage relationships with current employers. What's particularly intriguing is how this incident reveals the changing dynamics of modern Formula One. Teams expect absolute compliance, but drivers increasingly understand that blind obedience might not secure their futures. Colapinto's initial defiance showed racing intelligence and competitive spirit, qualities teams claim to value. The Mexican Grand Prix practice session presents a fascinating subplot. Paul Aron stepping into Gasly's car creates a direct comparison opportunity between the current seat holder and his potential replacement. This isn't just routine driver development. It's a high-stakes evaluation disguised as standard procedure. From Alpine's perspective, establishing authority makes perfect sense. New leadership needs to demonstrate control, and allowing junior drivers to ignore instructions sets dangerous precedents. However, punishing a driver for showing initiative in a genuinely competitive situation seems counterproductive. The broader implications extend beyond Colapinto's individual situation. This incident highlights the fundamental tension between team structure and driver ambition. Formula One succeeds because of individual brilliance within team frameworks, but finding that balance remains challenging. Looking ahead, Colapinto's handling of this situation could define his career trajectory. His initial stance showed competitive fire and tactical awareness. His subsequent backtrack demonstrated political intelligence and adaptability. Both qualities are essential for Formula One success. The real question isn't whether Colapinto was right or wrong to defy team orders. It's whether modern Formula One can accommodate the kind of aggressive ambition that creates great champions while maintaining the team unity necessary for success. For young drivers watching this unfold, the lesson is complex. Raw talent isn't enough. Political navigation skills are equally important. Colapinto's journey from defiance to compliance illustrates the delicate balance required to survive in Formula One's ruthless environment. As we head toward the season's final races, Colapinto's future remains uncertain. His performance against established benchmarks suggests genuine capability, but Formula One success requires more than pure pace. It demands the wisdom to know when to fight and when to fall in line. The Aston incident will be remembered not for the positions gained or lost, but for what it revealed about ambition, authority, and the impossible choices facing drivers on the margins of Formula One's elite circle.